A few years ago, Apple changed its privacy settings on the iPhone and broke digital advertising overnight. Customer acquisition costs on Meta and Google skyrocketed. Suddenly, spending $50 to acquire a customer online who only buys a $40 pair of sunglasses is a fast track to bankruptcy. So where did all these digitally native brands go? They went to the mall. Hi, I'm Andy Weiner, and today I'll tell you how a software update on your iPhone is driving tenant demand at our shopping centers. For the last decade, the entire D2C playbook was simple. Build a brand, run Facebook, run Instagram ads, scale customer acquisition. It worked incredibly well. You could target almost anyone with precision at a relatively low cost. And for a while, that was enough. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, they allowed brands to target users with incredible precision at relatively low cost. For years, this created a kind of growth arbitrage. Brands that understood the system could scale extremely quickly. But then something broke. Customer acquisition costs started to rise, and fast. More brands entered the space, more competition for the same attention, and suddenly the same ads that got to print money, that used to print money, got more expensive and less effective. This is a natural outcome of any maturing platform. What was once underpriced becomes efficient, and then eventually overpriced. Then came a structural break. Apple's app tracking transparency changes. In 2021, Apple released an iOS update that required apps to explicitly ask users for permission to track their activity across other apps and websites. Most people tapped no. That one change decimated the targeting precision of digital advertising. Facebook, Instagram, Google, their whole model was built on knowing exactly who you were and what you were likely to buy. Industry analysts have consistently shown that these changes led to higher cost per acquisition and lower conversion efficiency across digital channels. At the same time, the underlying mechanics of paid media remain the same. It's a daily auction system. As more brands flood online and the targeting gets worse, they bid up the price. A brand that was paying $15 to acquire a customer in 2019 might be paying $50 or $60 today for the same conversion. For a direct-to-consumer brand selling $40 sunglasses or $95 sneakers, the math doesn't work. You're spending more to get the customer than the customer is worth. It's a death spiral. So these brands did something that would have been unthinkable 5 years ago. They started opening up physical stores in malls. Historically, a store was viewed as a point of sale. Its purpose was to generate revenue directly from foot traffic. Today, that framing's incomplete. Modern retailers, especially digitally native ones, are increasingly viewing stores as customer acquisition infrastructure. Warby Parker, Allbirds, Casper, Glossier, brands that were literally the poster children for you don't need a physical store, are all in malls now. Why? Because a physical store in a high-traffic mall is now cheaper per customer acquisition than running Facebook ads. Think about that for a second. The thing that was supposed to kill physical retail is now so expensive and inefficient that physical retail is the cheaper option. A well-located store does a lot. It acts as a marketing channel, generating brand awareness, a showroom, allowing customers to interact with products, a conversion engine, improving purchase rates, a return and service hub, reducing friction, a fulfillment node, supporting omnichannel logistics. This is why many brands now compare rent directly to customer acquisition cost. A mall lease is fixed. You negotiate a rate per square foot for 5 to 10 years. You know exactly what your real estate cost is going to be. Compare that to a digital ad budget that fluctuates daily based on auction dynamics you cannot control. Here's why this matters if you're thinking about malls as an investment. For decades, the bear case on malls was that tenants would flee online and vacancy would rise. The opposite is happening. A new category of tenant, digitally native brands, is actively seeking physical space. These are companies that didn't exist in malls 10 years ago. They represent net new demand. And remember, supply is frozen. Nobody is building new enclosed malls. So you have rising demand from a new tenant category meeting a permanently shrinking supply base. That's a setup for rising rents and improving occupancy over time. Add in the demographic angle. Gen Z and younger millennials grew up in a digital-first world, but that does not mean they prefer purely digital experiences. In fact, research consistently shows that younger consumers value in-person retail as a form of social and experiential activity. Shopping in this context is not just about purchasing goods. It's about spending time, interacting with products, engaging with environments. They go for the food, the atmosphere, the hanging out. They spend more time in malls than millennials did at the same age. That foot traffic is what makes the customer acquisition math work for the D2C brands. It's a flywheel. Generation Z foot traffic attracts DTC brands. DTC brands improve the tenant mix. Better tenant mix drives more foot traffic. This is one of the stories where a technology change in one industry, mobile advertising, created a ripple effect that's transforming a completely different industry, physical retail real estate. The broader point is not that digital advertising is going away or that physical retail will replace it entirely. The point is that the balance has shifted. For many brands, the most efficient way to acquire customers is no longer purely digital. It's a hybrid model where physical retail plays a central role. And in that model, malls, particularly high traffic, well-located ones, become extremely valuable. They are no longer just places where transactions happen. They're platforms for customer acquisition. They're environments for brand building. They're infrastructure. And when an asset class transitions from being viewed as obsolete to being understood as essential, the implications for pricing can be significant. Because ultimately, real estate is not just about what something is today. It's about how the market understands what it is. And right now, there's still a meaningful gap between perception and reality. That gap is where the opportunity lives. Thanks for watching.